Rod Liddell and a first look at more of tomorrow's front pages coming up. But now it's time for free speech. Champion and member of the House of Lords, Claire Fox. And if you thought Britain was home to tolerant and civilised debate, this next clip might get you thinking. A Cineworld manager in Bolton has been forced to apologise to a baying mob of Muslims who angrily protested new Islamic history film The Lady of Heaven. So the £12 million movie depicts the life of Lady Fatima, one of the daughters of the Prophet Muhammad. But some Sunni Muslims accused the movie of being blasphemous and demanded it to be immediately axed. Watch.
Let him talk 1 minute! Just 1 minute, lads!
I am the manager of this cinema, and I'm just confirming that this film is cancelled tonight. And for the rest of this week, we will not be showing this film again. We will not be showing this film again.
But what started there in Bolton has now disturbingly spread across the UK. Cineworld says it has pulled the movie from all its venues nationwide to, quote, ensure the safety of staff. And when you take a look at the threatening rhetoric of this next dude, you might understand why they made the call to give in to the cancel culture mob.
Birmingham will not tolerate the disrespect of our Prophet, peace be upon him, and there will be outcomes from your actions. You will have repercussions for your actions. We have been trained from birth that we must defend the honour of our Prophet, and we will lay our life on the line.
Daily Telegraph columnist and former Theresa May advisor Nick Timothy hit the nail on the head with his assessment of that chilling clip. He wrote on camera, with no attempt to hide his identity, this man clearly threatens cinemas showing a film on the grounds that it is sensitive to Sunni Muslims. We don't have a blasphemy law in this country. We do have laws against making threats of violence. Why aren't they enforced? Well, Claire Fox with me now. And Claire, you say the decision to cancel this movie shows the creep of extra parliamentary blasphemy law is now censoring the arts.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's most frightening. What's happened is, effectively, a group of people have been able to stop a whole cinema chain, and I believe there's a second cinema chain that have just enhanced that they're also not showing the film, being able to stop the showing of a film. That is like the Board of British Censors, on the basis that it's religiously offensive. And you have to consider that the language that we heard from the second person, of course, was very threatening, but the general discussion around this is that this film is offensive, it's disturbing, and where have we all heard that conversation before, Dan? You know, it didn't come out of the Quran, it came out of campus culture, the whole cancel culture discussions that we've had around the issue of trans rights that I know that you've discussed a lot on the show. So what you've got here is a particular group using the mood of censoriousness around cancel culture to ensure that basically you can't blaspheme, according to them.
Do you blame Cineworld for giving in? Because they have said it's not about cancel culture, it's about the fact that we can't protect our staff from threats from the likes of that bloke. And actually, should the police be stepping up their action in order to make it safe for Cineworld to show the movie?
Well, that's obviously one aspect of it, because it's fairly obviously an intimidatory atmosphere, and you could say that somebody should step in. And you've mentioned the police. But I do want to say that if you'd have actually shown the rest of the interview with that cinema manager, he actually said, we are a community cinema and we don't want to offend the sensitivities of local people. So I do blame Cineworld in that instance, because, you know, they're playing to this idea that, oh, some audiences don't like this and have said that they don't like it, and so we won't show it. Now, can you imagine a situation, think of it, where anybody can say, I've watched that film, I find it offensive, it offends my religion or my beliefs on this or my beliefs on that. You get your mates together, you go and show outside the cinema, and you've effectively got mob rule when it comes to artistic freedom. That would be a catastrophe if it were expanded, and of course it sets a precedent. And on precedents, I think the fact that it was never properly dealt with, that teacher in Batley He's still in hiding, frightened for his life, never returned to the school. The head teacher effectively threw him under the bus, as it were. So you say, well, there's a group of people outside demanding a teacher is dealt with. Let's blame them. But you can also say, why did the educational establishment allow that to happen? Why did the head teacher allow it to happen? And what's more important, why didn't the Department for Education in that instance, and now the DCMS when it comes to the arts, why aren't they all over these screens? Shouldn't be some minor backbench in the House of Lords like me having this conversation with you. It should be every politician from every party saying this is not on, we're not having this. We are a free society and we should be able to see what films we're able to see and not succumbing to this. This has got the added dimension, of course, that you know that if you get involved in this discussion, there's always the danger, and people are frightened that they'll be accused of Islamophobia, just like people avoid saying a woman is a biological woman because they're frightened of being accused of transphobia. This way that there's a threat, not of physical violence, but of being labelled a bigot if you actually stand up for free speech, I think is what we need to actually really confront and make sure that we become proper champions of free speech. But I'm shocked at how few people in the establishment, as it were, are making a big issue of this.
I think it's absolutely chilling, and I think you're right to bring it back to the Batley teacher too. Of course, what a lot of people won't know about this movie, Claire, is that it is championed by certain parts of the Muslim community, you know, the Shia Muslim community in particular. I've read into the film over the past 48 hours. I haven't seen it, but I've read into it, and they have tried to be sensitive of their portrayal of the daughter of Muhammad. So you don't actually see the daughter. She's shrouded in a black headdress for the entire time. So it doesn't seem to me, Claire, like the filmmakers are even going out of their way to be purposely provocative. By the way, they absolutely have a right to do that, but I'm just trying to put some context around the film itself.
Well, that's what I think. It's important that people do understand that, Dan, because there is a danger of people saying the problem here is Islam. You know, the problem here are Muslims living in the UK. But that's why I wanted to emphasise that, first of all, the problem is broader than the issue of Muslims, because actually we have cancel culture in all spheres of life, right? It's got not restricted to this religion. But you're absolutely right. This is made by a Muslim. So what we've got here is a row between different theological aspects of Islam. That's what's so ironic about it. This would be like if, I don't know, the Presbyterians and the Catholics were having a row about a depiction of Jesus Christ or the mother of, you know, Our Lady or what have you, right? Tell I'm a Catholic, Our Lady, Mary. And if somebody said that's offensive and so on. And if that row went on, people would be bemused that different aspects of different Christian groups were having that argument, but they wouldn't close down a cinema.
No.
And a cinema chain wouldn't give into it. So the added element here is that you'll be accused of bigotry if you actually show the film. That's what the cinema are frightened of. I think it's very bad form. How can an art, how can something that's dedicated to showing film get away with that? The reason why I want to always stress the broader context, though, is we're about to have through Parliament the online safety bill. Again, your programme has discussed it. But let's remember that in that there is a proposal to make lawful but harmful content the subject of censorship online. So it's very difficult to go and give a lecture to those Muslim extremists, particular group of extremists outside the cinema, when they say, we find that disturbing, offensive, and we think it shouldn't be shown, when we've got a government who says it's all right to censor things that are legal but harmful. That crowd outside the cinema would say, well, this is harmful to us. The government even say all it needs to prove is psychological harm. That's effectively what these people are saying. They're saying this offends us.
It's what the Sunni Muslims in this case would say. No, it raises so many questions, and that's why I wanted to have you on this, because you broke it down brilliantly. Free speech champion, independent member of the House of Lords, Claire Fox, thank you so much.